Okay, tutorial 2 question 1. Stocks A and B have the following probability distribution. Let's take a look. So we have some probabilities in this first column. Here we have some returns on stock A and some returns on stock B. We want to calculate the standard deviation, coefficient of variation on these stocks, and then we address the problem: is it possible that most investors might regard stock B as being less risky, and justify your answer. Okay, so this problem is all about expected returns, which is reward, and risk, which is variance, and finally coefficient of variation, which is a measurement of risk per unit of return. Okay, all the equations needed for this are on the formula sheet, which is given in the exam. So let's write them here. The first formula: the expected value for the return on stock A, sometimes written different ways. They're both possibilities. Okay, it is the weighted return. Okay, and we have 5 possible outcomes, and we know all the probabilities. This is the weighted average. Okay, the risk, standard deviation, okay, which is the square root of the variance. This is on the formula sheet. It will be on the formula sheet on the exam. Okay, this is a standard equation. It takes the returns, each of the returns, different states, compares them with the mean, squares them, and times them, each of those, by the probabilities. It's a standard equation. And finally, the coefficient of variation is the total risk over the expected return. So this is the risk per unit of return. Okay, so these are the equations that we need. The question, a few things about the question then. So these probabilities, they could be various things. They could be political, economical. You know, there's so many possibilities here. The first one might be the likelihood of recession. The second one might be then if there's a booming economy, and then all different other degrees. Or it could be different outcomes, possibly Brexit, and the impact each of the cases would have on the returns. So that's something about the data in the table. The question asks for a standard deviation. Notice in the equation for standard deviation, we need the expected return, so we're going to have to calculate that as well. Okay, so let's get on with it. Part A. The expected return for stock A is the weighted average. So the first chance is 10% return and 0.1%, 0.1 probability of it happening. Second one, the second outcome, 2%, and there's a 0.2 probability of that happening. Okay, and just so on. So there should be 5 different terms. Okay, pop them into the calculator. You get 14%. The expected return for stock A is 14% using the probability distribution, and similarly for part B. Okay, part B, I'm not going to write all that out, it's just a very simple calculation. The variance next Okay, so the variance, we take the probability of that particular state, we take the return, we compare it with the average, and we square, and we do that for all the different values. So the difference between the outcome and the expected return is the deviation. So we're squaring all the deviations, times them by the probabilities, and taking the sum. Again, we should have 5 terms. Okay, and so on. I've done the first 3 there, just keep tagging on the other terms. Pop that into the calculator. I'll do it all in one go. The standard deviation. Okay, so calculate the variance and square root it. You'll find that you will get 9.8397%. And if you repeat for stock B, you will get an expected return of, I make that as 21%, and a standard deviation, and I make that approximately 13%. Okay, finally the coefficient of variation, so CVA. So standard equation is the risk divided by the expected return, standard deviation over expected return. So 9.8397 divided by 14, which is 0.7017, and similarly for stock B, 13 over 21, which is 0.6190. Just check those in a calculator. Okay, so that completes part A. We've done all the number crunching using these standard equations, which are on the formula sheet. Finally, part B says, is it possible that most investors might regard stock B as being less risky than A? Justify your answer. Well, we can use the coefficient of variation. We can see that this is smaller for B, so an investor would absolutely see this as stock B as being less risky because of the lower coefficient of variation. Okay, so any suitable sentence that said yes because of the lower coefficient of variation would be absolutely fine there. Okay, I'm going to separate all these videos. So that is part A and B. I'll do part C in the next video.